Hey everyone, so I think lowering your car is the single best upgrade that you could make. It vastly improves its looks as well as performance. Some may say wheels, I say don't even bother until you've lowered the car. I am here today reviewing the Mountainpass Comfort Adjustable Coilover Kit. This is the follow-up to my detailed install video. Please check that out if you would. My goal today is to tell you as much as I can about this kit, but that also means the video is long, so I organize it into chapters. Check out the description below, and it'll allow you to jump around or see whatever sections that you want and skip over things that you don't want to see. So here's what I'm going to cover. First, I do a first drive, normal roads, take some corners, try to describe what I'm feeling. And because I'm never satisfied, I decided to lower the car even more, and I show you how to do that, how to change the ride height, how to adjust the compression and rebound settings while on the car. And the results of this are awesome. The car looks even better, and I describe any ride differences there are. Then I take the car through a slalom. I set some cones up and I change the compression and rebound settings to, fully soft and fully firm, and discuss those, and you actually see the difference as I'm going through the cones. I then go over some really large speed bumps in my area, some really steep entrance ways, and this is not all good news. I show you some really cool benefits. The kit actually saves some weight and it increases range. What do I think would make this kit even better? There's something huge that I think would be just a massive improvement, and I don't know, I really wish this kit had this. Finally, why I chose Mountainpass Performance. There's a few different kits out there. I could just buy springs, so forth. Why Mountainpass? If you're thinking of installing this kit yourself, great. You could probably do it, but you can't do it without my other video. So please watch. I did a detailed DIY video on how to install this kit yourself. So enough of this, let's get on with the review. Okay, so here we are. The car has been lowered and we're trying it out here for the first time. Mountainpass Performance, and like I'm kind of moving the steering wheel around, and I'm already feeling it here. Let me get up to some speed. Let me try to take some corners at speed. I'm hitting some bumps. I'm feeling a little firmness, a little more firmness than normal. Yeah, just swaying the car back and forth. Turning the wheel a little bit. It's different. This car, it already feels good. Ooh, here's a bump to hit. Okay. All right, I think I'm feeling the bumps maybe a little bit more. It's kind of strange because they're not harsh. Like I'm hitting some bumps, some manhole covers, and then just some general cracks. And all right, let me take a corner here. And maybe I'm feeling a more, I'm kind of hypersensitive right now. Whoa, okay. I got some stuff sliding around in the back seat. Okay, that felt real good. I just took a corner. As soon as you turn the wheel, you feel it. I mean, the car just reacts faster. I still have the factory tires on there, those Michelin MXM, whatever they're called, all season. So nothing special. They're probably more than half worn at this point. And the 18-inch aero wheels on there. So this is completely factory, other than the new suspension. There's a kind of a curve up here that I want to take. It's a right-hand light, and then it immediately kind of curves left. So far too, the car has been lowered to the settings that they recommend. So I'm trying to remember the measurements they tell you. I think 74 millimeters up front. I cannot remember the measurements up back, but it lowers the car a good inch to an inch and a half. And what I do remember, it measures not the battery height, but the jacking point, which is a little bit lower than the battery, but is the lowest part of the car. That gets lowered to 110 millimeters. yeah, it already just feels better. I'm trying to explain how the car feels also on other normal roads. All right, take this a little fast. Okay. Oh, man. All right, that feels good. That feels really good. I mean, this car has really, it's kind of like woken the suspension up. Now, when I got this car, again, non-performance model, I was surprised how well the Tesla handled. It's just a Model 3 non-sports. I was shocked because the car's not low by any means. You know, the performance model, you could tell, is definitely lower, but it still handled really well. And you know, a lot of that has to do with the low center of gravity. There's a battery pack on this car that's as low as you can get on the very bottom, and that's like 1,000 pounds of the weight of this car, so it's very low. And you know, it has a good suspension to begin with, so the car handles really well. I was surprised when I bought this car how well it handled. This, though, is a market improvement. It is noticeable, like right off the bat. Just taking even just basic corners, just turning the wheel, it feels a lot more responsive. And I'm trying to describe how it feels when you hit little bumps in the road. I would say it's more firm. It's not rough. It's not jarring by any means. There's no extra noises or bangs or booms. It just feels a little more firm. Now, I also have I have everything set the way they tell you to set it. So the ride height set the way they say, and the shock, the rebound, dampening and rebound set to the same, or set to what they recommend, sorry. So there's still a lot of adjustment to be made. So I am going to drive this obviously a bunch more and see how I feel, see how it feels. Do I want to lower it anymore? Do I want to firm it up? I don't know. I don't know yet. Right now, it feels really good though. Big parking lot. They've got some curved roads. I don't think there's anybody here. Oh man, just immediately. Wish I didn't have this stuff sliding around in the car. Okay, here's some bumpy roads too. No extra noises. I don't know. I mean, you know, the factory suspension, you feel a lot of things when you're driving the car factory. You know, it's not a soft ride. Okay, yeah, there's less body roll, which I think is what helps with the car feeling like it reacts faster. So the normal suspension, there's more roll, more body roll, and that causes it to feel like it's not reacting as fast. And I'm no suspension expert by any means. I'm not some race car driver, but that probably has to be a big part of why this feels so much more reactive. And because yeah, you still have. All right, here we go. Oh wow. Yeah, I mean, it's still body roll, but it's nothing like it was before. Wow. Yeah, wow. Okay, yeah, this feels good. Yeah, this feels really good. I am liking this a lot. You know what this reminds me of? The difference of, and I don't know if anybody has ever bought a nice new set of performance tires. So on my previous car, we still own it, but my daughter drives it now, I have summer tires, performance tires, Michelin. They are meant basically for a dry and wet, non-winter tire. The tires I use for winter are Continental all season. You know, they're rated really well. But when I went from those all season tires, and now I switch back and forth, but when I first bought those Michelin, those Pilots, and put them on the car, it was an instant change in the car. It reacted so much faster, and I don't test the complete limits of a car. I don't really have anywhere to really do that, but you could tell that when you take corners, not only does it react faster, it feels like it's really, really holding on a lot better than the other tires do. Anyway, that is kind of like what the suspension feels like. You get a much faster reaction, yet the ride feels very similar to how it did from the factory in terms of harshness and just feeling like if it's too rough or too soft or anything like that. It feels very, very similar, only there's less roll, and it just takes a corner. Even just going slow, taking off like this, you feel it in the wheel. And yeah, this is not the performance suspension. This is the one that's supposed to be the more soft ride. It's supposed to actually be even more comfortable than the factory ride, which at this setting, I can't say that it's more comfortable than the factory ride. I would say in terms of comfort, it feels almost the same. I want to say the same. Just more firm. So I've been driving the car around for 25-30 minutes now, and you know what? I'm not even sure I remember how different it was when it was before I lowered it. Meaning that maybe it drove this way before. I think the difference is so slight. The only difference is now when I take corners, let me give you an idea here. Okay, 26. Okay, wow. That was fantastic. It's a turn into my neighborhood, and that was a good deal faster than normal, and wow, you know, it's kind of a nice curve there, and that was faster than normal, but still very, very safe. But holy cow, the car just really takes these corners now. This is amazing. This is amazing. So I did make one stop while I was out, and I was looking the car over, admiring how lower it was, and still thinking, I think it's got to come down some more. It could be lower. I just like the way it looks when there's really no gap in the wheel well. Not that there's a lot of gap now. It's definitely better, but it could be better. It could be a little better. There's still some good room underneath that the speed bump. I went over some other areas I drove up some other areas that I thought the car might possibly scrape, or I've had some issues with my other car on, and guess what? No issues at all, which I didn't expect. Again, this car is still a lot higher than my other car. So yeah, we're gonna lower this thing a little bit more and bring it back out, play around with the settings on the dampers, the shocks, and see where it goes from there. But yeah, so far so good. This is a very so far very worthwhile upgrade in terms of performance, maintaining comfort. Again, these are the comfort coilovers, these aren't the performance ones. Maintaining comfort, and also the looks. It gives you that look, the drop look, which
I'm sorry, it's way better than for you guys who are driving around your stock height ride cars. Sorry, then it's not going to cut it anymore. This is the look. When you got something, a quality suspension setup like this that's available, you got to do it. It's got to be done. Okay, that's it, guys. For now, let me drop this thing, take it out, and let you know how that feels. Okay.
I just liked it.
Okay, so the car is lowered to where Mountainpass gave the initial specs. So the battery's about 110 millimeters off of the ground, which is pretty good. It's pretty good. I think the car sits pretty much where this is a non-performance Model 3. I think it sits pretty much where the performance Model 3s sit, although I'm not positive. I didn't actually look that up, but just when I see the performance Model 3s, I see that they're a little bit lower. What I am going to do right now is lower it some more. Where it's sitting now is great. The car drives really nice. I haven't driven it everywhere yet, but again, I've gone over some pretty big speed bumps, things where my other car will definitely bottom out, and it hasn't bottomed out at all. So I'm going to push it because I you know, ideally, I would love to remove this gap completely, but then I don't want to be bottoming the car out all the time. Okay. See what happens. Come on, come on. Whoa, okay. All right. All right, that was pretty sweet. It was a little bit scary, but but pretty sweet. All right. I don't know if it's worth doing that outside of the car like that, but it sure is cool. You know, a lot of times when you're in a car, you're driving up on a ramp. I don't know, it makes me nervous. Where am I? I know I've got the little stops there and you can tell, but it still makes me nervous. Well, down here, you're watching it the whole time. Of course, you can't hit the brakes yourself. You got to, you know, trust that when you lift your finger off of this, the car's going to stop. I don't know. Pretty cool, though. Okay, so here we are. I am now going to lower the car. I set an inch. I'm already wussing out. I'm going to go about 20 millimeters lower, which is 25 millimeters would be an inch, 20 millimeters, less than an inch. So what we got to do, and I already loosened this, but the little lock screw here, loosen that up, and then get the supplied spanner wrench, get some kind of a ruler, and take your initial measurements, which, you know, 74, 75 millimeters or so right now. So I'm going to bring that to about 95. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We're dropping the perch down. So if I can subtract here, we should be at about 55 millimeters. So we drop the perch down, which is going to open up the spring a little bit more, but it's going to actually bring the car down. All right, so the thing is that there's not a ton of room in there for the spanner wrench. You can't make big turns. I think maybe eighth of a turn each time, so it's going to take a little bit of time. So let's get started. I got into putting anti-seize on all kinds of stuff. Living here in the Chicago area with these winters and finding bolts after a number of years becoming seized
and very difficult to take off. And after having to grind parts and off and use torches and things like that, extra heat to remove things, I started using this, and it should be unnecessary here. We're talking about stainless steel. These coilovers from Mountainpass are the stainless steel ones, the adjustable ones. And, you know, this is some kind of a not fiberglass, but some kind of a plastic there. So shouldn't have an issue, but, you know, this won't hurt. I guess the only thing it hurts is this stuff gets all over things and it just starts smearing everywhere. That's really the only downside. I'm probably also on that Allen locking screw. I'm going to put some on there too. I don't want years later to have that rusted close. I'm not sure if that thing is, I'm assuming they put a stainless Allen screw in there, but I'm really not sure. Okay, dropped to 20 millimeters, so that means here to there, okay? 55 millimeters, it was at about 75 millimeters. I gooped everything up with my anti-seize compound. Here, the Torx on the whole bolt, not the Allen lock screw here. Let's drop this thing down and see how it looks. Hey guys, so this is a bit of a bummer. I can't seem to adjust the height here. I got the wrench on there, the spanner wrench, and put a lot of force into it, and I was able to barely move that adjustment ring. I mean, I barely turned it. So because there's not a locking screw on here, I think they know that this thing doesn't turn. So if it's not going to turn on its own at all, and I can't budge it, I think I'm just going to have to loosen up this whole suspension, basically take the spring out. I mean, at that point, because I'm going to have to undo the shock and this lower bolt here, drop everything down, and like I said, well, I could probably just leave it in there and turn that ring by hand at that point, but yeah, it makes the whole thing a little more time consuming, I think. You know, it's going to be a lot easier to turn it, so maybe that'll save some time. I don't know. Anyway, let me get at it. Yes. Wow, I don't know. That whole thing kind of twists around though. You got to pull the whole thing out. It's like I'm trying to avoid taking everything out, but it comes out pretty easy, so kind of easy. Alright, well, took this whole sucker out. Hey, look how easy it is to move now.
All right, so let me remeasure this again. It's at 24 millimeters now. I guess I'm going to bring it down to 4 millimeters. Okay, so I've got this down to 4 millimeters. All right, so let me get this back in there. The other thing we have to make sure we do is make sure the spring is located in the right spot. There are those locator holes. Turn it too much. Make sure we get this ring back on here. And push this down. Squeeze that guy back in there. Oof. Okay, turn the spring, make sure we got it located properly. There you go, torqued at ride height, spring adjusted there. Bring this down easy. Just got to put this back on underneath the spring, the cover there, no big deal. And I guess it would help if I remove this wrench. Okay, time to make some adjustments. I've got the car still set at what Mountainpass suggested, 12 away from the full stiff. So I'm going to go back into that. I'm going to tighten the suspension up even more. I was going to kind of go just a couple notches in, but let's go halfway in. Let's go halfway to full rough riding, full-blown race suspension. So 12 in, so I should be able to go 6 back and be midway. Let's see what we got. Okay, so if you've already done the install, you know that you've got to take some panels out to get at the top of your struts. And if I can do this with one hand, these dust covers need to come off. And then using the tool they give you, which is basically a 2.5 millimeter. All right, so we are 12 off this way, so we're going to go 6 back. You can see the little positive there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. You can kind of feel how these are. It's not as nice as the lower. The lower adjustment is more. You can feel the clicks better. It actually clicks into each of the adjustment spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. That's for rebound. Now I need to just adjust compression here. I need to get at the strut. And then in the rear, I need to get at the strut too. Let's see how hard that is.
I'm not sure if I can do it without jacking the car up. I would like to be able to. We might be able to do it on the front, but boy, the rear, gotta get at the top and the bottom. Let's see how hard this is. Here I am again, reaching. You gotta like reach under the car and feel around, and you gotta kind of know where things are. And you could, once if you've done the install yourself, you can figure it out. I'm gonna attempt to show how to do this. To figure out where everything is. Okay. Once you figure out where this is, it's not that difficult to get to once you're lying on the ground. I already moved it one click. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. The front's, again, it's not so bad as long as you're willing to lay on the floor, or lay on the ground. Let me try the back and see how that goes. Okay, here at the rear wheel, let's try to adjust the compression, which is at the bottom of the shock. And it's not that bad. I was reaching under it before, but you just get your arm under here, and it's right down here. Let me try to get the camera in for a better view. It's a little tight under there, but again, it's a little tight under here. I can't really get my hand and the camera under here, but I think I can show the shock right there. And we just got to reach right over this. See the shock right there? You just got to reach over this plastic piece, and right at the bottom of the shock is the dial. And once you feel it, it's very easy to turn. So let's do that. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that one is adjusted, and really it's not that difficult at all. Once you see where it is, you get your hand under there pretty easy. It's really more difficult to get the camera in there. With the compression adjusted, the rebound now is at the top of the shock, but with this mud flap here, my arm is pretty long, but I can't really squeeze it in between there to get the height I need. Now, I'm probably going to have to jack this car up because I need to get in right there. So if I didn't lower the car down so far, this would actually be pretty easy. So let me jack the car up and get at it. No big surprise. With the car jacked up, it's really easy to get to. To get to the top adjustment. There we just 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Thought I would point out real quick, the top adjustment to positive this way is the opposite of the one on the bottom. So here it's to the left to increase. On the bottom you go the other way for increase. So on the bottom it's normal, this way it's opposite. All right, I'm going to get the other side and then take it for a ride, see how it feels. So before I get into the slalom, let me talk about what it feels like now that I lowered it even further, lowered down another 20 millimeters or so. All right, well, it feels lower. And actually, strangely, it feels like I lowered it further than I did initially, but I didn't. The initial lowering was 40 millimeters or so, and this was just another 20. But when I got in the car all of a sudden just felt like really low. You know, that's just how it felt when I got in and started driving it. But otherwise, driving it around, it felt
the same in terms of everyday driving. As far as being comfortable, hitting the bumps, turn in, all those kinds of things felt pretty much the same. Now, with the center of gravity being even lower, it should actually be cornering better, but it's not like I tested at the limits for both of these, so I can't really say for certain any kind of measurable difference. The car just felt even lower, yet the same comfort, the same ride quality that I had with the initial settings. So there, let's get on with the slalom. So this was pretty fun. I decided to set up a slalom to show how different the car behaves at different settings. I thought going from one extreme to the other would be best. Full comfort rebound and compression versus fully firm. I set a few cones out and tried to keep my speed between 20-22 miles an hour. I'm going to show a few runs at full comfort, followed by a few at full firm, and then side by side. The one thing I noticed immediately was that the car was much easier to control on full firm, and I think this comes through on the video and the audio. Look at how much further I was going around the cones on full comfort, and listen to all of the extra tire squeal. On full firm, the car was way more composed and was even easier to drive through the cones. Okay, I'm far from an experienced driver. I'm an enthusiast at best, so a better driver probably would have compensated better, but I think this actually makes a better test to show how much easier it is for a complete amateur to control their car when it has a better suspension on it. I really wish I had done this test on the stock car before I lowered it to show how much worse it would have been. The stock suspension has so much body roll due to the progressive springs, and then the dampeners can't respond quick enough and you end up hitting the bump stops. The whole thing just gets a lot worse. The stock suspension just ends up feeling overall like it's out of control, really, compared to this. You don't realize it that much until you've driven a car where the suspension is just really, really working well. And this Mountainpass kit works really, really well. It's just, you have a better feeling of control. I think the slalom probably shows it best. I try to describe it driving around, and it's really just hard to describe. But when you turn the wheel and the car just instantly moves, it gives you such a better feeling. When you're going over really bumpy roads and maybe you have to take a curve at the same time, or maybe you're going at a high speed and you're hitting a lot of bumps, the stock suspension just doesn't control that situation well. You feel like the car is a little bit more out of control, or maybe even a lot more out of control. This suspension fixes probably all of that. I obviously haven't been in every situation with this new suspension, but it just feels so much better. When the wheels are bouncing around with the stock suspension and not hitting the road like they should, you don't get that feeling like the car is fully planted and that you are in full control. So finally, here's a slow-mo and stopped at the corner here just to show how much more body lean there is just between the different settings. Full comfort versus fully firm. Again, I really wish I had done this with the stock suspension. I mean, the car would have been just way leaned over with that suspension. But this gives you an idea anyway of when you do have this suspension, just the different variability that you do have. Let's look at some of the downsides of lowering your car. First one, speed bumps. This one is pretty big. It's pretty close to my house, and I've had trouble with it on my other car. Lowering it to the specifications that Mountainpass gives you, not a big deal. You can see, you can go over the speed bump without any issue. Tons of clearance, no problem. However, let's look at this again without a little piece that I clipped out. When you go over a speed bump a little too fast, if you let the car drop, something's gonna hit, all right? And in this case, I thought it was the mud flap, but actually looking at the video again, I'm not sure exactly where it hit on the other side of the car. It sounded pretty bad, but I think it just hit the plastic, the black plastic moldings on the side. Really not a big deal at all. And if I had just gone down it a little bit slower, I wouldn't have had a problem. Now, let's say you decided to lower the car another 20 millimeters beyond what Mountainpass tells you to do. As I approach the speed bump, you can see there's not a lot of clearance underneath that front fairing. And as I go over, what happens? Yeah,
mud flap, instantly squished. I went over it fairly slow, not super slow, but fairly slow. And yeah, if you've got mud flaps on your car, they're going to get squished. They don't get permanently damaged. They're made to actually flex like that, so it's really not a big deal. But again, you don't want to go over anything fast because you're definitely going to hit the bottom of your car. But as you can see here too, as I go over the speed bump, there's still I don't want to say a lot of clearance, but there's a decent enough clearance here. But again, when you go as low as I have, you're definitely pushing it. And let me show you something even worse. So here I am again. Car's been lowered twice, right? Lowered 20 millimeters lower than what Mountainpass suggested. And I'm trying to get the car, well, actually the Firestone employee was trying to get the car up on their lift. And you could see their lift isn't aggressive. You know, it's a decent slope, but even with that, we added a couple blocks of wood. They added another piece of steel there for a ramp, because we had tried it before and there was no way it was going to get up without scraping. And if you watch what happens here, you see it's definitely going to scrape, but then when it gets up, when the rear wheels get up on the 2x4, looks like we added a lot of clearance, but no, as we move forward, it's still going to scrape. Now, can you get around this? Yeah, I ended up, well, I've got a whole other thing about Firestone, but I went to another shop because Firestone will not align your car any longer if you've got a Tesla Model 3. It's a whole other issue. They said, I actually talked with somebody from the district area, and they said they were going to resolve this, but that was at least a month ago, and nothing's happened. Anyway, I went to another shop, and they're fine with being creative. You know, I threw another couple 2x4s under there, and you can get a car up there. But these are the kinds of things that you got to deal with when your car is this low. In my opinion, a car is not super low. You've seen lower cars driving around, but this is definitely low. The Tesla sits a lot lower with the batteries the way they are at the bottom of the car. It tends to be a little bit lower than a normal car when relative to where the wheels sit in the wheel well, if you know what I mean. Now, let's take a look at something else though. This is an entranceway into a shopping center, very steep. You can see if you take it slowly, you don't have a problem. You can get through it easily. And I'll show a couple other factory cars. One is a Audi convertible that's, you know, comes from the factory that way, and you hear when he goes down at a fairly slow rate, he scrapes. With the Tesla though, really no issue on this. It's going up, the front end is sloped pretty nicely in your favor. And again though, you can't be driving really fast up and down things, but this actually kind of surprised me. I thought that was going to have more issue going up something like this and coming off of it, but no issue there. All right, another benefit, weight reduction. These coilovers actually save some weight, probably mostly due to the spring diameter being smaller, but front coilovers, both of them saved 4.8 pounds, I measured. The rear coilovers saved 2.4 pounds with both of them. The rear camber arm, okay, I didn't measure it. Somehow I forgot to measure the rear camber arms, but they had to be at least a pound and a half a piece. So add all this up together and 10 pounds saved, about a little over 10 pounds. You know, not substantial, but hey, 10 pounds is 10 pounds. Okay, so this is really cool. These guys from Next Move tested these cars, a couple Model 3s, rear-wheel drive, in Germany, and all they did, the only difference between the two cars was that one was lowered, and using actually pretty much the same suspension from basically KW. Now, they were driving faster. I think they said they average about 93 miles an hour, which, I don't know, was 150 kilometers per hour. Their cars were lowered. One of them is lowered 1.6 to 1.77 inches. And they tested these two cars side by side, identical driving. I'll put the link of the video in the description. And they saw a 7% increase in efficiency. So, I mean, this is pretty substantial. It's better than just putting the aero wheels on, for example. Aero wheels people see anywhere from 2%, maybe 4%. You're talking 7% difference in efficiency. It lowered the coefficient of drag, and now instead of getting maybe, well, at 93 miles an hour, you're not going to get 300 miles, but let's say you were going to get 300 miles on a full charge, you're going to get 321 miles now. You know, instead of seeing 250 kilowatt hours, it's going to be down to 232. Actually, again, at 93 miles an hour, you're seeing the 7% efficiency. So I don't know how that translates into, you know, a more realistic 75 miles an hour or so. But what are we talking here? Maybe 5% better efficiency? Either way, another really nice benefit. Okay, at the risk of ruining this complete Mountainpass fanboy video, here it is, something that would make this kit way better. Now, there are other companies out there that not only make an adjustable coilover, but they make a remote adjustable coilover. So, see this little motor on top of the strut? This allows a remote adjustment. Using their controllers, you can just turn a dial, hit a preset button, and adjust all four corners at the same time, adjust the front, the back, maybe even individual corners at this time from the driver's location. So this is super cool. And I know this firsthand because I do own one of these kits for another car. Now, they don't currently make this for Tesla, but I gotta say, not only is this thing super cool, but they've improved them since I've owned them. They have them now that are adaptive. So yeah, it does have individual wheel control. They react to cornering. They react to sudden acceleration, deceleration. They react to different speeds. From what I understand, I think you can even get them to react to different locations. So like a geolocation kind of thing, you know, like when you pull up to your garage, right now you can get your Tesla to open and close a garage door. Well, imagine being able to drive along and having your car automatically adjust the suspension for a known bumpy road. This would put this kit over the edge. Now, on the downside, the only thing that this doesn't have though is this only makes one adjustment for the compression and the rebound all at the same time. You know, would I trade that off to have a remote controlled adjustable suspension from inside my car? Yeah, I would. I really would.
So I'm going to end this review by talking about why I chose Mountainpass. Their coilovers are based on KW, which has a fantastic reputation, but they've made their own custom tweaks to it for the Model 3 that actually has improved upon the KW kit. Mountainpass has great customer service. Online reviews are simply better than anyone else, and they have way less complaints. Mountainpass has also dedicated themselves to improving Teslas, and it shows in the products that they make. That's right, they make a bunch of their own products. So there's not a lot of companies doing that. You know, there's a lot of companies reselling springs, reselling coilovers and that, and without any follow through. You know, they're just, you know, moving products through. They get them from KW or wherever and just sell them to you, and then that's it, done deal. Not Mountainpass, not in my experience, or, you know, based on what I've read online, not their experience either. Some more advice for you. Don't just buy springs. I've done it twice before on other cars. I've regretted it both times, ended up selling the springs, wasting time, wasting money, and then ended up with coilovers anyway. Especially with Tesla, the stock dampers just aren't up to the task. At the stock height, you end up hitting the bump stops. So if you're lowering the car even more with springs, you're definitely going to be hitting those bump stops more. And the stock dampers, they can't handle the new springs they can't handle the stock springs. So they're not going to be handling the new springs with their new characteristics. So you also can't adjust the height, right? Custom coilovers, you can get in there. It's not that simple as you've seen in my video, but you can do it. You can adjust the ride height on them. You buy some springs, you're stuck. Whatever ride height you bought, that's what you get. You're done. Dampers also, you're stuck with those stock dampers. You can't ever adjust them. With these, you can. It's not that difficult to adjust the dampers on this. You know, you want it to ride more soft, you want it to ride more rough, more, you know, more of a comfort, more of a performance. You've got that choice. You know, it's really worth the money. So that's it, guys. Review finally over. If you liked any of this review at all, please like and subscribe. I appreciate it. And I've got a bunch more videos and tests coming out very soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.